Welcome to the Columbus, Ohio Real Estate News Show, where I dive into the stats and news that impact the Columbus, Ohio real estate market. Whether you're looking to make a move, invest, or just want to stay informed in the market here in Columbus, we hope you find this show useful for your real estate journey. I'm Ryan Deeter with Key Realty, and today's show we're going to talk about a lot of the news that I've been following the last few weeks, just to keep you informed on what's happening around town here. Before we do that, I want to jump into a couple of stats as we just are comparing Columbus to the Ohio region. There's a new article just came out showing that Columbus is actually seeing the fifth largest growth in the state right now, which is kind of surprising compared to where Columbus has been the last really 10 to 15 years. Columbus has really outpaced a lot of the region and areas pretty tremendously, and I think that's finally catching up to Columbus as we've seen a lot of growth and height around the area recently. So Columbus saw about 3.5% increase when it comes to median pricing, and surprisingly, Akron came in at top at a 15%. So Akron's performing really well right now in a slower year for a lot of markets, and I think that's has to do a lot with of course affordability. Where affordability is going to be the biggest thing I think moving forward when it comes to home sales and what people are buying and what they can buy. With interest rates being higher, that's a huge impact in the market. So again, Akron's the top of the field when it comes to growth in Ohio. Toledo comes in at second at 10%, then Cleveland at just under 10% at 9.5%. Cincinnati's at 8.2% as well. So, obviously the higher end markets, the more expensive markets, are probably going to see a slower growth compared to the more affordable markets. So we're seeing that. Just to give you some comparison as well, with the median price in Columbus is sitting around $315 right now, and it's still well below the national average, which is $407, but just above the national or the Midwest average at $305. So hopefully that's information that's useful to you if you're considering making a move to Columbus. It's a little bit easier than it has been the last few years to say, okay, I'm going to wait and try to save to make a wise decision moving forward versus the last few years. When it's increasing 10 to 15%, I recommend doing everything you can to potentially buy a home, because if you're making 15% on a home, that's a great and investment. Plus, if you wait a year, that's 15% more that you're buying, but also 15% of appreciation you're not getting by not owning a home. So it's almost like a 30% swing if you waited just by 1 year. That 3% is a lot easier to, okay, I need to save and focus on getting debt paid off or saving for a down payment to help make that decision and make that a possibility and more comfortable financially for someone. So so in that sense, could be a good thing for the Columbus market as a whole. I still, what I'm seeing is that some areas of Columbus are seeing actually taking a hit and seeing a slowdown. And some areas are really still just on fire and continuing as we have the last few years of really fast and steady growth. So it really depends on the area you're looking at, what's going on in Columbus, and that's true for most markets, and it's always been true, but it's even more so than it has been the last few years, where everything was just selling really quickly. So hopefully that's again useful information that you can take if you're looking to make a decision. And let's jump into some of the news. So some of the things I want to talk about is actually some new developments, some new builds taking place. And the first thing is Bridge Park in Dublin, up there in the north part of Columbus, is expanding and doing its final phase of its expansion, apparently. So it is building more mixed unit spaces, much like they have in the past. So it's going to look very similar to what they've already done. It's just going to be on the east side of the buildings, the space already next to the Wendy's headquarters, if off 161 there. So just kind of building out the last phase of that. So exciting news for Bridge Park to kind of fill in that gap. And it's going to be, again, mixed units with restaurants and parking and apartments on top as well. And then another development that's taking place is off Hayden Run. There's a new development taking place there that's going to build about 2,000 units. So a very large proposal here. And between the Dublin and Hilliard area, that's still considered Columbus. So I used to live in this area, and I used to kind of call it the no man's land because it's out by Dublin and Hilliard, but yet it's still Columbus City. And So this is going to be a mixed unit space with some single family, multifamily, and single family rentals. So it's a good little kind of project that's going to be, helpful for the Columbus area to continue to combat with the housing shortage that we're still seeing here. Even though we've seen modest growth, we still have, we still need more housing, and we still need some affordable housing, things like that, which I think this will be a little bit, again, newer buildings that are somewhat affordable for the average person here in Columbus. So they bought, I think it was 50, they bought up, where's the acreage at here? 264 acres of land, and they're going to build 2,000 units on that. So a fair amount of space there, and that breaks down into 400 single-family homes, just under 1,000 multifamily units, and 999 multifamily units, 250 single-family homes for rent, and 384 townhomes. So again, nice use of space and mixed units there. In an area that's typically considered more affordable for the Columbus area, but near some nice parks and amenities as well. So hopefully a good project there. It takes place. It was approved by the city, so hopefully that can move forward as well. I want to chat about Intel for a minute. Of course, Intel, since they announced they're coming to Columbus, has kind of dominated a lot of the headlines here in Columbus. And this last year really has been kind of a bumpy ride for Intel, especially this last quarter. Their last earnings report was one of the lowest they'd ever seen, and they lost, I think it was, something like $16 billion. It was a crazy amount of money that they showed on their loss. And so with that, they did let go their CEO. So they're out of the leadership there, and they're in the search mode now. And with that, obviously investors are always leery of when you have such changes and things like that going on. They have a big project here in Columbus that they're trying to get off and running, and it's there's a lot of question marks going on. There's been delays, there's been all kinds of stuff happening there. So there's still a lot of question marks around that. With Intel and just their rocky road they've seen the last few years. But the good news is that they did get the money from the CHIPS Act. So there was a bunch of questions whether this was going to happen prior to Biden leaving office, and it did, which people were kind of pushing for. Even Governor DeWine was pushing for that to happen prior to him leaving office. So that's good. They got $7.8 billion, which not all that's going towards the Columbus bill, but that's for projects across the country. I think it's 1.5 that's going towards the Columbus build here. So that will definitely boost some confidence after some rocky road here the last year or so. So with that said, kind of Intel kind of launched this whole Silicon Heartland movement here in Columbus is what we're kind of calling it. But another thing that's kind of piggybacked off that is a lot of warehouses and other tech companies have landed in Columbus now. So another one that I've never heard of just now CodeLogic is investing $7 billion in more database centers here in Columbus. So they bought 154 acres in Johnstown and plan on investing $7 billion in 8 data centers, covering over 2 million square feet. So again, we're seeing a lot of data centers just pop up, and that's it's I think the industry, it's good for industry as a whole. Your business is here in Columbus, it's bringing money in, so you never want to turn money away. At the same time, data centers are not great when it comes to aesthetics and a ton of jobs moving in. There's obviously some jobs that come along with that, but when it comes to that much space, there's it's a lot of whether it's a warehouse or data centers, there's not a ton of people that operate it. So it does bring some jobs in, but not a ton. And the aesthetics, and my concern is that when you have a bunch of data centers 10, 20 years down the road, are those still operational? Are they going to have to be redone or changed, or is there some new kind of technology that comes out that makes them obsolete? And that's where I'm always concerned about this kind of, just data centers popping up left and right. But it's kind of like the new, in Columbus, it's almost like, turning cornfields and into data centers is kind of the new thing. In fact, Amazon, just announced one of their spaces is going to be in Sunbury. Just off Vans Valley Road there in the Sunbury Business Park or Technology Park, and that's part of their $7.8 billion expansion in data center operations in the region. So this facility is going to be a $2 billion facility. So they obviously have multiple facilities in the area, and so that's another just an example of the warehouses here in Columbus. Again, kind of a mixed feeling on that personally on the data centers. And it's a lot of construction area along there in the those areas. It's been a lot of pain from those, but it's also bringing a lot of attention and jobs here in Columbus. So moving on to downtown area, there's some exciting news happening there. The Edwards Company is a local developer here in Columbus that's looking to redevelop some parking lots right across from the Capitol building, and they've been really pushing for the redevelopment of downtown. And I love that it's a local developer doing this. There's 3 buildings that they're proposing, each 10 to 11 stories each, with mixed use of retail and apartments and condos. That's going to be a nice addition to that. So it's right across the street from the Capitol building and kind of around the corner as well. Yeah, continuing downtown on Broad and High, where the old Tim Hortons used to be, Black Kiwanis Coffee just opened up their shop. And this is a really neat thing. I think Columbus is really kind of getting a really good coffee scene here, and I think this is another great addition to that. I've not been there personally yet, but I'm excited to check it out. They've been roasting, I guess, out of kind of pop-up spaces and having a trailer for a little while. So they're having their own space now, and I believe it is open with a full cafe there in Broad and High. And I know it's kind of more business hour focused right now, hoping to expand their hours. So just check their hours before you head down, but go support them when you get a second. A couple closures taking place in the downtown area. Mile 229 just announced after they're closing after 14 years of operations there, and it's a prime location right there on the 7 Mile. It's a really cool space. If you've never been there, you better hurry before they close if you want to go. But it's right next to the renovated water park fountain, and apparently the place is owned by the city of Columbus, and it sounds like they both couldn't find lease terms that worked for both of them. But it's right next to that, again, the water fountain that they just redeveloped last year and opened back up. And I actually went down there this summer, and it's a nice space. It's a great space for the kids to run around and have fun, but it's right next to the restaurant, and I'm sure, it's loud with all the kids, but worst of all, there's about every 5 minutes, there's this like cannon shot. It's kind of, the water kind of stops, and all of a sudden it blasts off, and there's this huge noise, almost that sounds like a gunshot. And I wonder if this had any factor to them closing down, if the business has been a little bit slower since that's been there. Just curious about that, because it's got to be a little bit annoying if you want to go out to lunch and just hearing, not that the kids are a big deal, but the sound, that blast would be a very big disturbance if I was sitting there having a meal, and all of a sudden every 5 minutes this blast is going off. So anyway, just wondered if that had anything to do with it, but it's a neat space. Hopefully Columbus can figure out a way to fill that back up with another great restaurant. A couple more closings that took place on 4th Street is Little Palace and El Camino, 2 restaurants on, I think they own in the same building space that the landlord, and then we're not able to come up with the leases, so they are shutting down. It sounds like the landlord was kind of neglecting some things, but again, it just couldn't come to terms with renewing their leases, so they decided to shut down, which is unfortunate for that 4th Street area, because it's about 10, 15 years ago they redeveloped that for a pretty nice little nightlife area there. And hopefully they can find, again, new spaces there to keep that alive as well. And on an exciting note, the Crew Stadium, if you're a Crew fan, the Crew Stadium actually just announced that they're expanding the field. Apparently when they built this place, they didn't realize how popular it was going to be, and they actually said they built it too small, so now they're trying to add some more seating to the field. So, and there's 2 kind of different different projects on the field they're going to do. One is going to add 262 seats with some more standing room as well. It's going to overlook the field. Another one's going to be more of a club area with what adds about 331 seats and have a capacity of 600 into a club area, and adding an extra bathroom as well. So that's kind of a cool thing that Crew's doing. It is unclear who's paying for it. I know there was a big controversy when they built the stadium downtown, who actually paid for it. So we will see how that works out. It's actually funny because the stadium is actually owned by a public entity called Confluence Community Authority, a very generic name there, which leases the stadium to the team. So hopefully we can find a way to make that happen without raising our taxes. So again, some exciting news happening around Columbus. There's things coming, things going, but hopefully this show is helpful for you just to stay informed on what's going on in the Columbus area. And I'm always happy to hear from you, what you're excited about, and some news that you may be seeing, or if you just want to chat about the real estate market as a whole. please reach out to me, search for me, send me my phone number is really easy to find. Email is easy to find as well. Shoot me a message, email, and I'll be happy to connect with you guys. Thanks, and see you next time.